So if you'll get your clickers out. First, I just have 4 questions. We sort of want to get an idea of who you are. Where do you teach? And just pick the best answer, because I know some of you teach in all of the colleges. Okay, so there are a lot of others. Who is an other? I know Louise teaches in all the colleges. Where do you teach?
We don't actually teach, but we do train grad students in the labs when they come and stuff here.
Okay, so you're like maybe a preceptor or a lab assistant type person. Or do you teach people every day?
But not in
No.
what you're saying.
Anybody else? Okay, next question. Answer the best you can.
You don't have none of these.
I don't have an other. Okay, so I'm gonna close the poll. And it looks like a lot of course coordinators, preceptors, people out in the field, and lecturers maybe, guest lecturers. Anybody have an extra one? You do a lot of one-on-one teaching. Who? Bonnie.
Yes. But I also teach online.
Yes, that's correct. I forgot to put that on there. Okay, next question. Are you teaching a lot of people? One person? Several? I'm gonna close the poll. And most of you are teaching in medium-sized groups. Nobody has the big gargantuous 120? That's always a creepy thing.
Well, I do conferences sometimes with their children,
Yeah, that would count.
but it's more often and more one-on-one students.
Okay. And then where do you primarily teach? Connected, I guess you could classify that, or other as online. Some of you may teach online, but we were wanting to see what face-to-face encounters that you have. And I'm gonna close the poll. A lot of classroom, a lot of labs, and some others. So this gives us a good idea of where we are. And by using the clickers at the very beginning of class, I've been able to establish what my audience is. You could use this same technique in your face-to-face classes. You could ask your students some pre-questions over maybe the material you have assigned to see where their knowledge base is. You could ask them questions about prior knowledge. So I like using clickers in face-to-face, and then after I do maybe a 10-minute chunk of material, I like to stop and ask a question or two, and then continue with the class and maybe ask another segment or two of questions. But clickers can be used in a multitude of ways. The good thing about clickers is you can collect the data. When the presentation is over, I can download the data to a results manager, and then I can go back and look at it, and I can see specifically where students may be struggling, and you ask them pre-questions or post-questions, and I can look at individual student results to see if maybe some of the students need supplemental and I can send them supplementary material. So clickers, I think, are a real good piece of technology that you can use in the classroom. Coach Stanley? Yes, ma'am.
How do you set up the clickers? Like very, very concretely, like who do you have to talk to and how do you integrate it into your PowerPoint?
The software is free. You can download the software from Training Technologies, and I can get this information to Shaquila and she can email it out to you. You download the software, it's set up through PowerPoint, so you can pull in existing PowerPoint that you've already may have constructed and add questions to it, or you can make a completely new one. Then you'll have to download a piece of software that also not only gives you the ability to compose your questions, and there's maybe 15 different types of questions you can ask, but it also gives you a results manager that you pull your data back into. This also integrates with Blackboard, so if you want to give your students participation points or scores for completing a post-clicker quiz, you can send those results directly to Blackboard. But I'll get that information to Jaquila and she can email that out.
And in the event you happen to be anywhere like me, you need more hand holding when it comes to doing stuff like this, just contact Ms. Martha Carley and OED, and we have a whole team of folks who can help you with that. So if you get in there and you start getting into the weeds and you're like, you know what, this is a little bit more complicated, then give us a call and we'll be more than happy to assist you with that. I won't be, because I've got Martha, so it's like, Martha, hey, can you help me with this? And Martha's like, yeah, I got it. So, but we'll be more than happy to help.
Thank you.
See how I just volunteered? Thank you. So today we're going to be talking about the basics of course design. And if you look at this diagram behind me, this chart, it talks about the interconnectivity of the components. So what's the first thing that we start out with when we are thinking about designing a course? And when I say course, you can also apply these principles to whether it's a lecture, grand rounds, clinical setting or lab, so forth and so on. So if I say course and you're not looking for an entire course or looking to develop an entire course, then interchange the word course with lecture, didactic, lab, interchange that with that. And so don't let the word course deter you from grasping the concepts, okay? So what's the first thing you start with?
Your audience.
Your audience? Okay, all right, so you're gonna think about what your audience is, right? Okay, and one of the ways you can do that is just like we just did with the clickers, to kind of get a feel for who your audience is. But even before that, you may be thinking about, okay, before they even come to a class, you're trying to think about who's my audience. You're looking at their demographics, their educational background, maybe even their socioeconomic backgrounds, test scores, so forth and so on. And those things are important when you're preparing to teach a group of individuals, right? Okay. So what else? What will be next? From this diagram, what will be your first thing from the diagram?
What you want to teach them.
Why?
What
you want to teach them? Okay. So that translates into
instructional materials.
learning outcomes.
Oh, so you start at the end.
Yes. So anyone heard of what we call backwards design? Backwards design, or basically a concept that Stephen Covey made famous, begin with the end in mind. What do I want the students to be able to do at the end of the course or at the end of this class? What do I want them to be able to do? What should they be able to, what should they achieve, right? So that's where you want to start. Then where would we go?
All the stuff you need to achieve.
All the stuff you need to achieve. So our learning outcomes will be first, right? Okay, all right. So here we are, our learning outcomes. Someone read that first line for me. Our learning outcomes
will be the starting point for your course design.
will be the starting point for your course design. Okay? That's the very first thing you start with. And everything flows from that. So then what you're going to do is you're going to identify the specific knowledge, skill, or attitude that you want them to have achieved at the end of the course or the course completion. Okay? So this is where they need to be, all right? How do you develop your objectives? Now, a lot of times, this gives people a little trouble when you're thinking about developing your objectives. What are some of the words that you should not use when you get ready to develop your learning objectives? Anybody know any of them? What's some of the common words that you should not use? Say it. Understand. Understand is like the main word. Like when I see understand and objectives, it's like bells and whistles go off like, no, not no, we probably need to redo this one, okay? Why can't we use the word understand? Or why shouldn't we use the word understand? It's difficult to measure, right? Can I measure your understanding? Can I see it? Yes? No?
You can see a confused look on their face, but you don't know what they grasp or not from what you talk.
Absolutely. What's another word? It starts with a K.
No.
No, right? Students should know how to do X, Y, Z. Well, you can take out the no part and probably leave do X, Y, Z. But no, we can't really assess no, right? So if you look at this in your handouts, what we've done is we've given you kind of a suggested tips on how to write your learning objectives, okay? Just a little handout to kind of help you with writing your learning objectives. And you're gonna actually use this in a few seconds. And on top of that, or under that, we've also given you the revised model of Bloom's taxonomy. And if you know anything about Bloom's, it looks a little different here than it looked maybe before 2014, okay? So in a few minutes, you're gonna be working in groups of 2, yes, working in groups of 2, and you'll be devising learning objectives for a mock course that we're, in our minds, created for you, okay? And one more housekeeping thing. As we go through this workshop today, if you wouldn't mind, if Lucy, any critiques or comments that you have on what we're doing here this afternoon, we welcome them, first of all. We look forward to your critiques to help us be better. So as you go through, I always like to give this to everyone at the beginning, because at the end, everybody's ready to go. So if you'll jot your comments down as we go, we really appreciate it. Now, your name is optional, but if you put something down and we need to fix it, but we can't really understand what it is that you said, maybe in writing, then we'd like to be able to contact you and say, hey, can you clarify for us what it is you mean? Trust me, there's no penalization or anything like that. We just want to improve what we do for you, okay? Okay. All right, so also the objectives keep you on track, and it separates what the students need to know from what is nice to know, right? What the students need to know from what is nice to know. Now, we've all been in a class, course, whatever the case may be, and we know the instructor was giving us a lot of stuff that he thought was nice or she thought was nice, and we're sitting there thinking, can you just give us the facts, right? Now, I'm the only person. I'm gonna raise my hand because I'm the only person, okay? Just me, okay? So the objectives help keep us on track with that. In addition to that, the objectives help keep the students on track. It helps keep the students focused on, this is what I should be able to do when I complete this course. This is what I should be learning right now. This is what's going to be important. And we don't want to make the objectives so specific, okay, that they only focus on one thing, and then the students know, when I get to the test, I know I gotta know this particular thing. We want to kind of leave them broad, not too broad, but not just very narrow, that one objective only points to one thing, okay? All right. The last one. It forms a basis, the objectives form a basis for evaluation of the instructor. How well did the instructor teach or facilitate us learning the content that leads to objectives? Also, evaluation of the learner, how well did they achieve the objectives or the goals with 90% accuracy? Did they master them? And the effectiveness of the curriculum, okay? So that's very important. That's our evaluation piece, right? Okay. So here we are. and we attempted to think of a course or a topic that will be relevant to every discipline there is. Ethics. Now, anyone know Dr. Michael Hester? Anyone know him? So don't tell him I said this. But of course, this may be the most, no, I'm not going to say it. This is the most important subject there is. Tell him I said that. He'll give me a phone call. Okay, so you're developing an ethics course for your discipline, and ethics is probably maybe a difficult course to think outside of the box on, because it's pretty straightforward, right? Except, well, pretty straightforward in how you teach it, but the concepts may be very gray, okay? So what we want you to do is, we've got your tables, and it's pretty much 2 at each table, 2, 3 here. You all can work together, and you two at the back, okay? So what we'd like for you to do is identify in your group 3 to 5 learning outcomes or objectives for the students in this course, okay? Ethics, based on what you know about ethics, develop 3 to 5 learning objectives. Now, we've given you the handout that kind of helps you to draft your objectives, and then also Bloom's taxonomy. Now, remember, your objectives should always, always, always begin with an action verb. Always. Because this is the part where there should be a lot of rumbling and noise and stuff. Now, as you're writing your objectives, think about the other things that are going to be attached to your objectives as you're writing them, like evaluation, outcomes. Are these objectives going to be measurable, so forth and so on.
Almost all of them.
I love that. That's one of my favorites. Differentiate.
Do you want to join this group over here? Yeah. Here's your wallet.
Identify an ethical conflict. That's in the first one. It's also understand.
What are you working on? Basically, it's of course, it's 3 to 5 million outcomes. If I've got, I want to go for it. I think it's cool. I ain't happy. Right now, I want to get there in the morning. I want to get 7 and do things like this.
You did the contract? About pro and con.
Oh, I did not see that. I don't want to. My name is Isam. This is going to be the school. It sounds like cool. And all the kids were in school. And so I tried to 6 levels of balloons. Vacation is
Okay, how many people have 2 objectives? Raise your hand. 3 objectives, raise your hands. 4 objectives? 5? How do you got? 10? Oh, 2?
But there's ethics in metabolism, right?
I see. So remember, the first level is understand, apply, analyze, evaluate. That's it.
Decide which one is right.
So,
So we need to go in and then what is the link for the primary objective if they want us to? So what did you learn?
Oh, okay. Well, just know this. When you give it to God, let's see. They never need to go out and involved. Just, that's what we're serving. Yeah, because you can't do that, then it'll kind of convolute the entire process. Okay, all right, so let's go back. Let's talk about it. So here's what I want to do now. I want to go around and I want to know some of the verbs that you use. So we're going to start up here. What verb did you use? For your very first one, what did you use? Differentiate. Like I told him, I said that's one of my favorites. What did you guys use? Okay, but I'm coming back. I'm going to go around, I'm going to come back. What did you use? Identify, okay. Define, okay. Critique, okay. Oh, all one group. And what did you guys use? Identify. Now, so here's another thing that you want to think about. So the question now is, and we didn't put this up there, what level is this course? Please tell me why that's important. Based on your objectives in Bloom's taxonomy, what level is this course? Why is that important? Why is that question important to answer? Higher levels of Bloom's taxonomy, right? So if you have introductory students or your first year students, then you'll probably be, let's say, in your first 2 levels of Bloom's, right? You're remember and understand, right? Because you're probably going to be giving them information, they may be regurgitating that information, but as you move up to the higher levels, you want them to be able to apply it, right? You want them to be able to analyze, so that's going to take higher level skills. You want them to be able to evaluate, okay? And then you want them to be able to create, okay? So the higher they're learning, the more intense the objectives that you want to use, okay? Because you're trying to achieve a goal, because they'll still be doing a lot of these lower level things, but you want them to achieve or be able to do these things on the higher levels, right? So tell me about your experience writing your objectives for this ethics course. Difficult? Difficult? Okay, anybody else? Did it help being with someone else,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Okay. But see, that's the beauty of having colleagues, right? And like I was saying earlier, when it comes to things like this, and I'm always plugging our department, because the thing about it is that in OED, we're here to assist all faculty in all colleges. If you're teaching, we're here to help you to do that. So let's say you're writing objectives for a new course and you're like, this is taxing. I don't know if this is right. Hey, send it to us. Take a look at it, send it back to you. Like I said earlier, your superior never needs to know we were involved. Just, hey, we're here to help you to do what you do and do it better. Okay? Okay, so, but yeah, but it does help to have those colleagues you can bounce ideas off of, okay? What was your favorite objective that you wrote for this course?
Explain and present a topic, as you would to a medical ethics.
Now, they said, and I'm glad you read that one. Explain, listen to this one. Explain and present a topic. What's the rest of it?
As you would to a medical ethics committee.
As you would to a medical ethics committee. And we're gonna critique this one, okay?
Okay.
So, good objective or not? Or good objective or could be improved. And if you say not good, you gotta tell me why. So I'm gonna tell you up front. You shook your head, so I'll give you the first opportunity.
Can't have an aim.
And tells you what? What does and say to you when you see it in an objective? There's more than one. Are we trying to make this very complicated for the students to understand? No. We want to class is difficult enough, right? So we want to simplify it. So if you see an objective with and, if you're evaluating someone else's objectives and it says and, then you just politely say, these are two objectives, you may want to separate these, okay? And so that's what we're saying here. Those are two objectives because you can take out evaluate, you can say evaluate, whatever, and then you can go and down and say present, okay? So, and kind of says, okay, we got two, red flag. All right, what about you? I came back. What was your favorite verb? No, I forgot it.
Well, I don't think that it's a good one.
Of course it is. It can just be better. Of course it's good.
To become familiar with HIPAA.
Okay, become familiar with HIPAA.
So we needed
Become familiar with
We
HIPAA.
were looking for a stronger word.
Okay.
So we were coming to like be able to identify non-HIPAA compliant situations.
All right. So, and this is what I find a lot of times. When we'll say, and it should be understood, or you can put, when you're listing your objectives, and I used to put the short form of it, SWABAT is what we call it. SWABAT. Students will be able to, colon, and then all my objectives under that. So I never had to put, will be able to again. Okay? So you can take that out, saves you time, and depending on how many objectives you're writing, it may save you a lot of time. So then you just say SWABAT, or students will be able to, colon, and then you start listing your objectives. Now that second one that you identified, what was it? What did you say, the second one?
Non-HIPAA compliant situation.
What was your verb, your actual verb?
Identify.
So identify is good. Describe HIPAA. You can identify HIPAA like, okay, like let's say there's a list of things on the wall and you go up and you say, oh, this is HIPAA. Now, but if I come over here and someone says, tell me about HIPAA, can I describe it to them? Two different things, right? I know it when I see it, but being able to discuss it and describe it, two totally separate things, right? Okay, so you also have to think about, what do I want to be able to do? I can identify, there it is. But now I come over here, I'm trying to teach this gentleman about it. I'm not so good at doing that. So you want them to be able to describe it to where someone can understand, right? Okay, all right, good one. What do you have? Yes, Bunny, you and Allison.
Identify relevant facts of the issue or situation.
Identify relevant facts of the issue or situation. Now, so what do you think about that one? Is the verb good? Yes. What about the rest of it?
What's relevant?
Ha! So there would be some ambiguity right there as to what's relevant unless you have previously identified relevant in your content for them.
Or you've listed a specific issue or situation.
That would be considered relevant. Absolutely. All right. Yes, ladies. This is a whole debate going on back there.
Contrast the cultural and legal, I need my glasses. Maybe contrast the cultural and legal concerns in dealing with the DNR.
Contrast the cultural and legal concerns in dealing with the DNR. Good objective, needs work. What do you think?
It's two different.
You think it's two?
I do think.
Anybody else say it's two?
Can we repeat it one more time?
Say it again, please.
Differentiate cultural
I thought you said contrast.
I mean, contrast, okay?
Okay, so go ahead, say it.
We had differentiate before.
So read it for them though, contrast.
It is contrast,
Legal and cultural issues.
and dealing with it.
All right, so they said contrast legal and cultural issues dealing with a DNR. Okay, so some people are saying it's 2 objectives. Is it 2 objectives? How many people say it's 2 objectives? Raise your hand. How many people say it's not 2 objectives? Raise your hand. How many people are not really sure if it's 2 objectives or not? Raise both hands. Okay. All right. So it's not 2 objectives. Here's the reason why. What's the action verb? And so to contrast something, you need to have 2, right? Okay. So that's what do they say? There's an exception to every rule. So that would be that type of situation would be the exception. Yes, ma'am.
Well, I was just going to say, unless you were contrasting 2 different legal aspects of the DNR.
Okay.
I mean, it could be
So if you took out the word cultural,
and cultural, yeah.
yeah, if you took out
Say
and cultural,
contrast.
so where you're saying contrast legal issues of DNR, so then there would need to be, you would need to start somewhere in, I guess, in your content, you need to identify what those legal issues are that should be contrasted. Okay, very good point. Yes, ma'am.
Question. So I understand 2 objectives, but that would be when you have and between 2 verbs.
Uh-huh.
Because I think I had to list an objective a week ago, like I told you, when was the first was define osteoporosis and cardiovascular diseases. I don't think, even though you're defining 2 things, it's one objective, which is definition of what those diseases are. So would you say that I should have said define osteoporosis or define cardiovascular diseases?
Yes, because let's say this, name me 5 different things that you can define. Name me 5 things in your field that could be, that your students could define.
Can define osteoporosis, or hypertension, cardiovascular diseases. I can define within cardiovascular diseases, coronary artery.
So if you wanted them to define all of those, would that be one objective? See how you would have 5 listed, one bit right behind the other? So it kind of, so for the students, I would think in their mind, and you know, you have this whole spatial thing going on. So spatially, maybe you want to say define colon and drop down A, B, C, D, and E. So that spatially in their mind, when they get ready to recall that information, they may be able to see it better. But if you just got a list of things that are just going across like that, it may be more difficult. And I think one of the things that we would like to do with our objectives is simplify it, because sometimes the objectives, regardless of how you try to simplify them, because of the content and the nature of what you're teaching, it's going to be difficult anyway. So I think that simplifying it for them helps them a little bit better. And it may help you as the faculty member to say, okay, what about this one? What about this one? As opposed to, you may say, what about 1A? As opposed to, what about objective number 1? Objective number 1 has 7 things in it. But 1A is specifically osteoporosis. 1B is specifically hypertension.
It also helps you when you need to measure whether or not the students.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So then you can look at it, if you've got it set up in a way where maybe it can show you graphically or in a quantitative format which ones they had trouble with or they did really well on. So you're absolutely right, Brian. Absolutely. Thank you for that. Okay. All right. So who else? What did you jump get?
So we said identify the underlying ethical issues in a given scenario. We assume that we were going to have a scenario with
Okay.
a class. And
Okay.
then the objective would be identify
Okay.
the underlying issues in
Okay.
a given scenario.
What do y'all think about that?
It's like ours.
Okay.
What?
Okay. What about here? What do we have here?
Let's see. We had construct ethical position statements using various principles of philosophy.
Construct ethical
Position statement.
position statements using.
Ethical theories, principles of philosophy.
Okay. What do you think about that? It starts getting a little. But the verb, one single verb, right? It just tells you the kind of the context that you should use to achieve the goal of constructing these, right? So using this, this, and this, I want you to construct. So that's kind of like a condition. And this is not, we also do another workshop that focuses on objective. I think it's coming up soon. But this is part of this as well. But this is part, that will be part of your condition because it's based on under what conditions do you want them to be able to do it. And you stated 3 different conditions that they'll need to use to be able to construct those. Okay? All right. All right. So, any questions about, yes, sir?
Can those be considered as guidelines to help the students construct?
Yes, and the guidelines will be the conditions. Guidelines are kind of like the conditions. Under these conditions, this is what I want you to do. Okay? Any other questions? Comments? All right.
I'm up. You squeezed the thing a while ago and it advanced. So you get so excited.
I know.
What I'd like to do is interject how technology can help you in your face-to-face class in these different steps. And the first step with learning outcomes and learning objectives is that you should provide these learning objectives to your students as many times as you can. So there's no doubt in their mind what the objectives are. A good thing to do if you're teaching a face-to-face class is to utilize Blackboard as a repository for your course materials. You don't have to teach online, but you can put materials in a Blackboard course or a community where students can go and find the different materials that they might need. So the first thing I would do in posting my objectives for my class I would be putting them in the syllabus. I've got a big arrow over to the syllabus, and the second place I would put the objectives would be in the learning modules. Each learning module would be a chunk of the material, and I may be teaching hypertension, and I would list the objectives first in that learning module, and then I would give them the articles, the textbook readings, any other materials that they might need for the module. But this is just a tip to keep in mind that you can use Blackboard, either a course or a community, to blend with your face-to-face course. And I think it's next week, OED comes in and we give you a Blackboard introduction.
All right, so now the other fun stuff. So we've already talked about or discussed our learning objectives for our ethics course. Now we want to look at our teaching and learning materials, or TLM. Okay, our teaching and learning materials. So these are going to be materials that we use in the classroom to support our specific learning, okay? So what are some teaching and learning materials that you currently use? Name one. Name one for me. Teaching and learning materials. PowerPoints, okay. What?
Handouts.
Huh?
Handouts.
Handouts, what else?
Books.
Textbooks. Articles. What do you some have? Whiteboard.
We have models.
Models. Simulation. Okay. So those are kind of the things that go into our teaching and learning materials. So what I'd like for you to do now in your same groups, tell us what are some of the teaching and learning materials you have used or are currently using, okay? And list at least 4 for us, and you can do that in your group. And then tell us also what are 4 that you would like to use, okay? What are 4 that you would like to use? And be prepared, because when we come back and have our discussion, when we talk about them, you may hear some that you have not thought about in the group that you may want to write down and use for later, okay? So what are some TLMs you have used or are currently using and would like to use? 4 for each. And remember, as you go through these exercises, give consideration to what your learning objectives for the ethics course are that you are developing. Because everything flows from your learning objectives, so we're kind of doing this in a sequential. I've got my learning objectives. What am I going to use to teach these learning objectives? Okay?
It just wants to go
You're using children.
Yeah, well, first time, now that you know it. What about you?
Oh, I use a lot of PowerPoint. Use sometimes handouts and ask them questions before they
Bring them into.
I bring the questions right
Are you teacher? No, you're
and I use Jeopardy stuff game.
So everybody got their 4?
So yeah, she's right there.
Use or currently use?
Come over here. What's that?
So we have to best support.
Both.
Oh, okay, well, I have 2 here.
AP.
So this is an existing ethical institution survey research, so I link those to their guidelines statements. So I teach survey research in Excel.
Oh, okay. You have a connection to IRS? I mean, I'll use See how you make connections? I need to call you if you're ready to do my next research. Yeah. So I can make sure everything flows right.
IRB is always a daunting task.
So this is it. I'll be sure. I'll put this in the
You have to figure out.
But it's not important, but still important, right? Still important. And I like this one. Yeah, even in the military, when I was in the military, we were trained, we used Jeopardy situation to teach some of our concepts to our soldiers. Yeah, that's a good deal. I like that. Yes, absolutely. And you develop it yourself? Yes. Okay. What about you, Jim?
Tell everybody else if they need us.
Okay, so, what? All right, so tell me about your TLMs, or I've already seen them. Tell the group about your TLMs. We'll start here. We'll start here. Just tell us like 1 or 2 that you want to talk about.
That I want to do in the future, or that I've already done?
One of each.
Okay, one of each. So I have a colleague of mine that's from medical ethics come and speak to my class because they have a lot more passion for ethics than I do, and so they can. Not that I don't care about ethics, but that's.
Nope. Everyone may be less concerned about ethics until they need to be concerned about ethics, right?
They do well with translating the information in a way that engages students. And then in the future, I would like to do a debate with some sort of ethical situation.
Kind of like what is that?
The ethics
what is it?
bowl.
The ethics bowl, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I didn't think of doing that inside of a class until recently. I think that would be a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Okay, so like on a smaller scale?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that would be really fun. Okay, good deal. Yes, ma'am.
One that I've used in the past is like standardized patients or parents for
Okay.
kids and
Definitely.
types of situations. And one that I'd like to use, I guess, would be more case-based studies.
Case-based studies, okay, all right, good deal, good deal. Yes, sir.
Other than what was said before, things that we have developed in our division for the fellowship was Jeopardy and simulation program.
Jeopardy game. I've been in classrooms, and also, like I was telling them earlier, in the military, we even use a Jeopardy game to teach the students some of the content for their training. And regardless of what arena you're in, for some odd reason, they always find the Jeopardy game fun. They get real competitive. Not that our students aren't already competitive, but they get really competitive. Good deal. So the Jeopardy game, and what was one that you wanted to use, or did you have one you wanted to use?
I'm running out of idea about to dream about something. I don't
Gotcha.
know, but I would learn. That's why I'm here.
Gotcha. Good deal. Please.
I've used Camtasia, and I would like to use the Active Learning Center.
All right, the ALC. Anybody here ever, no, I think no one in here is taught in the ALC. It's a really fun place to have learning activities, really fun place. You got this big open space, and I don't know if they necessarily advertise it, but the ALC, they've got these big monitors, and you can talk with students, have discussions with them, and if they're researching things on their laptop and they find it, they can link it to the TV monitor in their area or their section, and it can display for everyone in there. So they haven't done a lot of that, and we used to use it a lot in the College of Medicine, when they still do when I was working with them. So, but they have those capabilities. So a lot of neat capabilities in the ALC that are underutilized. So just to let you know about them, so if you go over and say, what else can the ALC do? That's one thing, but make sure you ask them. What else, Louise? What would you like to do?
Well, that was one of them. I haven't used Blackboard actually.
Okay, okay.
What was the first thing you mentioned?
Camtasia, it's a audio visual, and you make videos.
And you say you would like to use Blackboard also?
Yeah.
Okay, good deal. All right, what about you, gentlemen?
Mostly use PowerPoint for our teaching in the lab, but it'd be nice to be able to do a lot of structural work in biology, and it's hard to visualize that.
Uh-huh.
Doing it, so using 3D technology like printers.
Oh.
Actually make a model that can really help solidify the point, what you're trying to do. It doesn't always make sense when you're shown on a two-dimensional surface.
Absolutely, I'm sure somebody has a 3D printer, but I think those, aren't those things like expensive or something?
$5,000.
So, yeah, so, but hey, aspirations. Yeah.
Whiteboard and markers most of the time, so explain the idea, concept. I also wonder about 3D printers, but also about holograms.
Holograms, see? Now we're getting somewhere.
It's going to happen.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that. I was riding in this morning listening to satellite radio, and they were talking about going from how they come up with this new technology for televisions, and then they would say the next thing will probably be holograms. So it's funny that you even mentioned it. So we're sitting in our home, and instead of watching television, we're watching holographic images of the television show. I'm not sure I'm ready for that. And especially, and you know, sometimes we go to the doctor, they give us these medications that make us a little loop-de-loo. I'm not sure I should be watching television if it's a hologram and I'm a little loop-de-loo off the medication again. I'm just saying, I don't know. I mean, yeah, Ambien's already bad enough, people sleepwalking. If I see somebody in my house, it's quite strange for me. So, yes, ma'am.
One of the things that we did this year was a cadaver lab with the students.
Cadaver labs.
That was wonderful.
Yeah, there's been a lot of cadaver lab use going on lately, and the students have been finding it exceptional training for them. So that's good. That's a good deal.
And what I would like to do would be, I guess the more Blackboard utilization. I've used it, but I don't think I use it effectively.
Okay.
So I'd like to be able to use that better.
Good deal. Good deal. Well, you know, hey, if you don't know where to find us, we'll find you. We'll find you. Yes, sir.
We do group discussions where like I'll be the patient and the students have to interview me and come up with some.
I've used that one as a preceptor before. Yeah, that's a great.
So
Okay.
that's always fun. So I'd use in the future, really, I just have to just learn some ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I teach a lot of psychology courses, and I always like the abnormal psychology courses or the counseling courses, because then I get the opportunity to play particular roles with the students. I really enjoy acting out with them. It allows me to get out of the instructor role and be okay. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Let's see, WordPress.
WordPress, okay. And that's what we kind of use for our UAMS website, I think, also.
This is, I've used it for blogging.
Okay, good, good deal.
Oh, WordPress is just a blogging platform.
Okay.
And handouts.
Handouts, okay. So you want, so which one do you want to use?
Okay, this is what I'm using. I don't still have an idea. We'll discuss that, using video to show the students what they're doing correctly.
Okay. Okay, so you're gonna videotape their actual performance and then show it to them as a teaching tool to say, hey, look at what you did right here. That type of, that's always a great idea. That's what I'm gonna do with this. It's like, you know what? I don't like how I said that. Let me go, I'm not gonna do that next time. Absolutely though.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. Sure.
I use a lot of demonstrations, so if I need the student to learn how to do something,
Mhm.
I'll do it first, and then I'll have them do it under my close supervision, and then as they do it more often, I kind of
Back off.
increase the distance between
Good
them
deal.
and I.
You weaned them. You
Yes,
weaned them,
yes.
okay. Okay.
And yeah, like, so I thought that maybe it could be helpful for them to see from an outside point of view what they're doing.
Okay, good deal. That's awesome. That's awesome. Which one's going first? Allison.
Active learning in groups.
Okay, so you like the group
Yeah.
activities? Okay.
Yes.
All right.
And then what I would like to learn more is the role playing, like you said.
Okay. Absolutely. And a lot of active learning, when we hear active learning now, it's a lot of people are talking about team-based learning. But you also have case-based learning, where team-based learning has specific components to it, very specific. Case-based learning is it takes out several of the components of team-based learning and focuses primarily on the case. You also have problem learning, okay, problem-based learning, where you're presented with a problem and the team works on it to solve that problem. They could do it individually, but more than likely you're trying to do it in a small group. And then when Allison said the roles, POGLE, process-oriented guided inquiry learning. And what happens in POGLE, it's similar to these other team type activities, is more geared towards the sciences. But what I really like about POGLE, it assigns a specific role to specific members of each group. So if you're trying to teach team building or how to integrate teams, then you can assign roles, and it also teaches leadership and followership. Okay, so those are some byproducts of using that type of modality, which is always good. Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Ms. Kim.
I like to use videos that demonstrate how to do a process, and you can find a wealth of resources free online and use those. What I would like to do is, I'm not sure if I have the right word, but virtual reality, computer stuff, where you can act out as characters and things like that. That would be
Awesome.
awesome.
That's really awesome. That was the other thing they were talking about on Sirius exempt this morning, along with the holograms. So yeah, that's it. And more specifically, they were talking about using these things also in learning management systems, so forth and so on, or in education. So it's good. Yeah. Yes, who's going first this time?
Okay. Basically about something like, and I do enjoy doing the small groups and having case studies and such, but, and would like to use a lot of technology, but, one thing I thought with the ethics course, if you even brought in kind of subject matter experts, people who have had the experience, or whether that be, you know, a patient or a family member or whatever, somebody, and kind of brought that in on your case.
Okay.
I think that might be beneficial to a group.
And you're absolutely right. So let's say that she had a case in ethics, so she provided them with the case, right? She provided them with the case, and then the students or the groups came up with a solution to the case or the problem, and then the ethics expert or the SME kind of got and said, well, that probably wouldn't work, and this here's why. So it kind of, shifted back and forth, but to enhance the critical thinking skills of the students based on that particular case. And then at the end, probably, help them to come to the resolution of this is what we did, this is why we did it. That's great. Yes, ma'am.
What I use a lot is the whiteboard and diagrams, because I teach a lot of pathways and all that. So and students, they learn different. Some students, they need to see the whole picture, and then you break it down to them. And some, you need to go step by step, and then they can understand the big picture. So I use both, because then they can accommodate both in some videos. But what I would like to use, perhaps like iClicker type of thing, because normally I teach like 100, 150 students.
Okay. Okay, good deal. All these are exceptional. Let me ask you to think about one other thing. Would you ever, in any situation, maybe look at or need to go back and possibly revise or adjust your objectives based on what you realize is available as far as your teaching, learning, or your TLMs? Right? Because when we saw the model at first, everything influenced everything else, right? We start with the objectives, but everything influences everything else. There's circles, this one touches on this, or influences this, the circles go this way. So everything within that model is influenced by everything else, even though we began with the end in mind, or with our learning outcomes and our objectives. And that's why it's important to start with those so they can help guide you as you go along, but you also always be flexible when it comes to, okay, I need to make an adjustment here. So don't be just rigid or dogged about it. Gotta do this, gotta do it this way. Okay? All right.
Okay, some tips for electronic help when you're getting ready to work on your teaching learning materials. You want to keep things manageable. You want to keep them in small chunks, as I said before. You want to make sure that they add some depth to your content that you have in the classroom. You can use web links. I keep thinking that there is some place you can look for some of the simulations you might need. I think of the games that the kids are playing on Xbox, that they have all kinds of simulated cities and tasks, and surely there is somebody out there that is building some that would be relevant to some of our material here. I saw some demonstrated at Academy of Colleges of Pharmacy. So I know they're working on those where they have patients and you can guide therapeutic recovery. As for the 3D printers, I know that there are some here, maybe at UALR, you might want to call their IT department. College of the College of the Ouachita. Malvern, Arkansas has a farm of 3D printers. I visited their campus and they called it a farm, and I mean it was hundreds of them. So you might connect with somebody down there and investigate, what they have.
And I would play up the fact that you're from UAMS. I think they will probably enjoy a collaboration with someone from UAMS.
Blogging can be done on Blackboard. So look out for some of our brown bags, Learn at Lunch, where we talk about wikis, building wikis, blogging in Blackboard. One thing I wanted to show you was there is a product that we have that can go into Blackboard, or it can be published to a website, and it's mobile friendly. You can build all of these games for students. A lot of it is basic knowledge, recall. The students in the College of Pharmacy would build flashcards and crossword puzzles with the top 200 drugs. But if you have a lot of basic knowledge, definitions, all you need is a Word document. You electronically input the Word document into this product called StudyMate that is a free product for the campus to use. And you upload your questions and answers in a Word document, and it will make these different games that are a lot of fun. Students can play on their phones.
May I add another to that one?
Yes.
Quizlet.com. It has 4 activities and like 2 games, and you just simply put in terms and definition, and it magically creates these activities. You can embed those in Blackboard, or you can just have a link to them. But the 2 games are pretty interesting. One of them is called Scatter Race, and you're trying to match a term with its definition before it goes off the screen. And you compete against yourself, time and myself. I really like that one because it's real simple to use and it's free.
Quizlet.
Quizlet.
QUIZLET.com, is that right?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Okay, so now learning activities is we're growing closer. My speed may be getting more rapid. So if I talk fast, let me know. Yes, sir. Dr.
I wanted only to ask you for clarification for me.
Mm-hmm.
The way I have to confess first, this is the first class ever I have taken to teach me to be a teacher. So many of the things that my colleagues here know about, I'm hearing about them for the first time. So I accept to learn from everybody. Please come to me. I am teachable. I wanted to say one thing. Is there a difference here between what my colleagues here used as material and activities? Because for me, I have always considered, for example, group learning, group discussions, this is an activity.
Okay.
It's not the material. I mean, you give them material, they work on.
Okay.
It's in my mind, if I go out there and say it again, that I heard that like Jeopardy is a material because you have built something and they play with it, blah, 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 the game. But if I give them a pre-test and post-test, this is a kind of material I'm developing.
It's actually both. It's going to be material and it's going to be an activity.
But when they sit down and discuss, for example, what is it considered?
That's an activity. And so you posed a very good question. So when I got to this point, what you heard, some of the comments you heard prior to, I was going to go back and address and say, okay, now, was that really a material or was it an activity? So if we say, let's say, case-based or team-based learning, material or activity? It's actually a learning modality, but within that, you have activities. And what you give the students or utilize will be material. So you may utilize the PowerPoints to teach them. You may utilize, let's say, the blogging to teach them. So that's a material more so than an activity. But it will be both. What you use is the material, but how you use it will be an activity. Okay. You get what I'm saying? Yes. So you're absolutely right. So when I got here, because I heard those also, I was going to go back and say, okay, so now we're talking about activities. So what are the activities and how would they be different from some of the things that you said earlier? Okay? So you're absolutely right. You brought up a very good point. But does everyone understand the question that he's asking and how we're clarifying that? If not, I'll clarify it a little bit more. I didn't miss it. I just wanted to get to this point to discuss it. He just beat me to the punch. He's been doing this a while, so yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So now we're going to talk about activity. We're gonna talk about activities, just like Jeopardy. Jeopardy, them playing the game is an activity, okay? Now, if he used, let's say, some cards or so forth and so on to facilitate that activity, then those cards would be the material, okay? All right, so learning activities should provide students with opportunities to develop the skills they need to demonstrate their mastery of the material, okay? The mastery of the material, all right? And so your teaching and learning activities should also demonstrate alignment in terms of your course content, the structure, and the instructional approaches. Your instructional approaches would be your lectures, discussion, demonstration, and those are terms that I said you can interchange with course when we talked about design. So it can break it down if you're on that level, that it doesn't seem like, oh, this one doesn't apply. So you want to focus on the students' current skills and abilities, and you can assess those. You pretty much know if you're getting bringing the students where their skills lie in what you're teaching, or if they're second year, third year, fourth year, because you know what the objectives for the prior year or the objectives to even get into the program, what they should have been able to achieve, right? Then the course content. What is the course generally talking about? What is your course generally focus on? Sometimes you may want to change or alter that content. Then the course structure. How's it structured? Does A come before B, or did you find that last time I taught this course, A really should have been after B, and B should have been before A? See, that's that be flexible as opposed to being rigid. We've always done it, A, B, C. Well, when you flip classroom, what does it say? Now we're going to do CBA, right? We're going to do CBA. So students are beginning to do activities more outside of the classroom, and when we get to class, what do? We're discussing, we're interacting, we're engaging one another. The students are engaging us, they're engaging the content, as opposed to, okay, read this, do this, so forth. No, you've already done that. You did that outside of class. And then your instructional approaches, which we talked about also. Team-based learning, case-based learning, problem-based learning, didactics, lecture, lab, so forth and so on, right? Okay, so any questions about that so far? Okay, so in your groups, I want you to identify 3 best learning activities to facilitate your ethics course. And as you do this, because I'm going to ask you to explain how you would employ each activity to optimize the students' learning opportunities and achievement of your learning objectives. Okay, so I'm going to give you like 2 minutes to talk.
And it's speed talk.
Speed talk.
This is we have not only in ethics, because gray zones are even in medicine there are some
I understand.
You have to prove to them. You have to scout the cause of the no. And you have to scout the cause of the yes. No means socially receiving and it's different from debate in the sense that it's not free. You have science. And sometimes we do it the way debaters do, like you go and you don't choose, you get randomly assigned to debate either a yes or a no, like a pro.
That's one.
Okay, 60 seconds. You want to move up or you do? All right, all right.
Big pressure. Big pressure.
I was trying. You have to give me 2 more seconds. I might have messed it up. 30 seconds.
Kids learn a particular topic area and then teach their others in their group.
These are the activities we do all that.
Team teaching or something, I don't know.
You super educators
Peer
work
teaching.
well on the
Peer
grid.
teaching.
Peer teaching, super educators. So we have 3.
Yes.
All right, so get your spokesperson ready because we're going to go around. What's your best teaching activity? Table 1. She put her head down.
For ethics, we said
Case-based discussion, okay? Excuse me, you can't use the same thing, come up with something else.
Okay,
Games, okay, all right, all right.
Our idea, we're gonna do a demonstration.
Demonstration.
We're gonna assign a situation, a pro and con. Right before they come in to do it, switch.
Like it, I love it.
Yeah, we like to.
That sounds like something I would do in a class, I would really do that.
Yeah,
to
we started
students.
with debate, pro and con, and then Bonnie goes right before switch.
Absolutely, good. Yes, ma'am.
We have a simulated patient position, whatever situation, it's just have a simulated one and then have to discuss it in groups.
Absolutely. All right, what we got here? I heard you speed talking, we heard you speed talking.
A strategy we talked about last week was peer teaching and how you would assign ahead of class a portion of the content that they would be teaching to others in their group.
What's a really good way for students to learn?
Teach others.
Do we learn more when we teach? Absolutely. Yes, sir.
Discussion, and there's also, I mean, I don't think we've talked about discussion, but we also talk invite speakers to come and talk about their experience.
Absolutely. When you have discussions in the classroom, I tell my students this all the time, and I really like to have discussions, is you create new knowledge sometimes. You create new knowledge, new ways of thinking about the problem. And a lot of times, even the faculty person will be like, I never thought of that. I'm going to use that next time. I'm not bashful about taking what comes up in a class and using it for another class, even if the students create it, because we're continually developing new knowledge and just improving the learning process. So those are all great. Okay.
Okay, I'm up. And
Yes, ma'am.
I think that the main thing we need to remember is we've got to engage the students, get them engaged in the activity. And you came up with wonderful examples. One way that I like to utilize Blackboard is do discussions on Blackboard. They can be asynchronous. Students can log in anytime during the week, answer the questions, and there's a special setting in Blackboard that they have to post their answers before they can see everybody else's answers in the discussion board. So that makes it really nice that they know what the questions are, they can do their research, they can post their answer, and then they can go in and look at what everybody else has answered and discuss among themselves, well, why did you answer it this way? This gives a lot of content, a lot of engagement outside of class that then you can summarize and address in the next class.
Absolutely. Oh, here's the fun part. What do you consider interactions in your classroom? Who's interacting? What's interacting? What is it? No, nobody? No takers? It's almost dinner time, I know. Turn taking? Okay. And you mean students take turns or?
Well, they can interact with each other, or they can interact with the professor.
Absolutely. The students can interact with each other, their peers, or they can interact with the faculty member. So it includes how the students engage each other during the learning process, one, how you interact with the students, with you being the faculty member, and then it would include how students interact with the curriculum. Do the students interact with the curriculum?
Yes.
You hope, right? So they,
You do hope.
You do hope.
You can't guarantee it.
You can't guarantee it, but you do hope. You do hope. Okay, so what are some interactions you would plan for in your course being the ethics course, that would maximize the learning opportunities? What would be your top three? What would be your top three? You can just tell me, you don't even have to write them down. What would be your top three? You can just blurt them out to me.
Games,
Games. So they interact with who?
the instructor and each other.
Okay.
Each other.
Okay.
They like competition.
Absolutely. Most of them do. All right, what else?
Audience response system.
Audio response system. Okay, like we did earlier here. Absolutely.
And you can do groups
Right.
and get group results with the members.
Okay, what else?
Search a database.
Search and database, that's interacting with the curriculum. All right, okay, all right.
So we have the 3 teams in our fellowship, and they prepare, one team prepares an educational activity.
Okay.
And they present it, and the other 2 teams actually compete.
Awesome. So we're over here presenting.
Yeah.
We're like the faculty members, and we come up with the activities. Now you two have to compete and get the correct answer.
Correct. And so
That's awesome.
the one team that prepared the activity, they have learned everything and studied the wrinkles and put like questions that are traps and what have you. The other teams, they are preparing because they know the theme. They come prepared, but they don't know the questions certainly, and they have to compete.
Am I the only person in here who smells an opportunity for scholarship and research? Doesn't that sound like something worthy of researching and doing some scholarship?
We did actually, this as a research project. We did it at 2 phases to see if competition, because after that they have to evaluate each other. And the team that prepared the activity will evaluate, you know, the member who is presenting. And so the members of the other 2 teams will evaluate the presenter as well. So we have team Alpha, Sigma, and Mu. And if I am from Alpha, I'm presenting, so my colleagues present me, evaluate me, and so the other members of the team we divided the year into 2 halves, and we collected the evaluations to see if, we wanted to see if competition would bias the students, or bias us to see if we are really more biased to overinflate the evaluations of our team members and deflate the evaluations of the competitors. And the first half of the year, we told them, you evaluate, it doesn't enter into the competition, and the winner at the end of the year will not be determined based on that. And at half the year, we told them, now every evaluation will enter the competition. And we collected, you know, hundreds of, you know, pieces of data. And we plugged that after that in the computer, and what we got out of that, there was no difference whatsoever. And which tells me that we could prove and we wrote now an article, we're sending this to an educational journal,
awesome.
That competition at this level does not have a
negative
impact on the honesty. That's a
good deal.
Honesty of people.
So let me know which journal, because I definitely want to read that.
I will send it to you if you want to.
Oh yes, please do.
Before even, we'll kind of find the last phase of it.
Please do. That's awesome. I'd like to find out more about that one. That's good to see. So those are the types of things from your teaching that you can do, and that's one of the things that we kind of focus on in the Teaching Scholars Program also, is helping the faculty members to take what you do in your classrooms and turn it into educational research and scholarship. So that's a good deal. So that's a prime example. So any other interactions? Any others? Awesome interactions that you come up with? Okay. All right.
Okay, so let's interact electronically. And there's a whole host of things you can do. In Blackboard, we have a web conferencing tool called Collaborate, and you can set up private rooms for groups, and students can go online in groups synchronously.